There we are. We're live. Another episode of TigerBait Live right here on a Wednesday night. Buddy Songy in studio with myself, Mike Scarborough. And we're just a few days away from the culmination of LSU spring football practice. And a little bit of overlap, LSU baseball and the offense-defensive spring game. And so we've got a lot of that to talk about. LSU, of course, gets a win over ULL last night in the last Wally Pontiff Classic. And so we're going to talk about those topics, football recruiting, a couple of big official visitors, unofficial visitors, adding more to our live list of that I posted early yesterday. And so it'll be a very nice recruiting weekend. And, of course, we're brought to you each and every week by the great folks over at Pride Roofing, Alex Martinez, Mike Faraday. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show. And, of course, our good friend Tony Freeman with Assurance Financial. We'll talk about her as well. So welcome in, buddy.
Yeah, I'm a little, I guess you could say I'm rode hard and hung up wet this week. I have my Pride roofing outfit with the shirt and the hat, and we remind you that whether you're in the Baton Rouge area or throughout the Southeast, they will take care of you. 855-PRIDE-16, of course, in Baton Rouge, 275-2041. And, I'm catching a little bit of some of these other spring games, Mike. And it's hard to watch the Georgia spring game or the Bama spring game or the Arkansas spring game because you don't know the players and you don't know the battles that have been going on. This one, of course, we have a lot of interesting tidbits and side stories. And I hope that we hadn't built this thing up because, I asked Coach Kelly last time about what's so important. Is it just his spring gamers and all those tidbits and every rep that they've been filming throughout the spring? But I'm interested to see how many people go out there. Field is luscious and gorgeous and should be a fast field. You're going to have 4 different quarterbacks. You're going to have offense and defense. They'll come up with some sophisticated way of scoring. But let's just premise by saying when the coordinators say you've only got 30% of the offense and probably 30 or 40% of the defense, you have to be cognizant that this has been a long rebuild, and you and I went over this today on the radio show. A lot of these grad transfers are coming in. They're going to have to play big-time roles with the corners and the safeties and the offensive linemen. So don't take this snapshot of what you see on Saturday and assume too much because it's still very much a work in progress, in my opinion.
And it might be, Coach Kelly lamented the fact that he's unable to do a true spring game and split the roster up into 2 teams because he doesn't have the numbers. And like he said, flatly, last time we had him, would put some positions and some players in some bad situations where they're just talent-wise, you didn't have enough to go around, and some people are going to get exposed and look, you get it. So, but I think maybe the offensive defensive part of it might not be bad either. And spring games are always boring. Either, is this going to be as boring or even more so? I don't know. But I watched a little bit of Arkansas's earlier today, and that looked like paint drying.
Yeah.
And I set my DVR for others. I went to SEC Network. I think it's next Wednesday night, 7 or 8 o'clock. It replays the LSU game. So if you want to set your DVRs for that so you have a copy of it. But, that's one of those deals with it. How many times are they going to play it between now and August? That'll probably air at least 30 times. It's like Roadhouse on TBS. It plays nonstop in the off season. So a lot of LSU women's basketball news today. Staff hires and one of 2 of the West Virginia commit signees. One was released today. We thought both of them were going to be released. I talked about the first one earlier today. But Jasmine Carson is the one that I guess they've got her paperwork in and done, and so went through compliance, and they put that out a little bit before 5 o'clock. And so you're talking about a 5'10" guard, and so they're excited to have her. And right before we went live, if you notice, Samuel L. Jackson, the famous actor, and tweeting about her, and so I went and dug around to find out what the relationship is with him and her, and I found this from a story a few years ago. She said, he knows my grandmother. They're very close friends. Now that I'm playing, he supported me every step of the way. Carson also noted that he would frequently come over to her house in Memphis as a kid, and he was basically part of the family. He's like an uncle to me. He's a good person, and people look up to. So that's going to be kind of neat. I don't know if Samuel L. Jackson's ever going to come to an LSU game.
No doubt about it. He's going to. Kim Mulkey will have him over there. There's no doubt.
He's one of the. When you think about actors in the last 30 or 40 years with the cool factor, who tops Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah. But I think this is once again connecting the dots. Of course, as we know, the best rapper and baller in all of high school just was the MVP. She's going to be coming. How cool is that going to be when Flau'jae starts rapping and Kim
MVP
music.
of the Michael Jordan game last week.
Yeah.
You saw some of those highlights, her hitting threes. Waiting list, get your name on the waiting list for season tickets. It's going to be fun because I don't know how long it's going to take for men's basketball. Buddy gets kind of mad at me when I think it's going to be pretty bleak, but we'll see what Coach McMahon's able to put together.
Well, no, I just think that it is hard to give anybody a true pulse of what's going on because this is a total rebuild. Now, of course, Mwani Wilkerson and Justice Williams have decided to come back, and there were some rumors about Efton Reed and others considering that. But I just think right now,
who's got the worst situation, Matt McMahon or John Brady when he took over for Dale Brown?
Oh, goodness. Well, the problem with Coach Brady, as we remember with the story of him and Kermit Davis, every time John Brady had a meeting, two players would leave. And Kermit finally told him, say, look, you don't need to have any more meetings. We don't have enough players. But I can't imagine Matt McMahon being dealt a worse hand. And, we kind of, I guess we addressed that a little bit. Goes to show you how good Kim Mulkey is for her to come in with this same roster of 5 or 6 grads and seniors and experience and to add a little bit of the piece to the puzzle and do what they did. And you see Jay Johnson struggling with a lot of Maneri's talent and obviously Brian Kelly. Now you got Coach O. I don't know if he's cocktailing on the beach or what, but he comes out in an interview today and says, they expect him to win. Go Tigers. He ought to win a national championship in 3 years. Now, this comes from a coach that didn't even know his players were getting ready to walk down so, I'm sorry, Coach O. I don't necessarily use you as a barometer.
Would that be the right timetable, though?
I don't think you can put a time frame on it right now. It's so
three would be insane, but is it somewhere between 3 and 5 if you thought there was when a run could happen?
Okay, let me ask you this. Was the NIL and transfer portal the same?
No.
19?
Right.
This is a whole different ball of wax. Oh, by the way, the Kentucky Player of the Year.
But to piggyback that, buddy, when all the dust settles and we're several years into NIL, do you think it's going to be the same names that have been winning recruiting all these years? It's going to be the same schools, ain't it?
Sheboy just decided to come back to Kentucky.
Although we do have
why?
Well, we have A&M in there now.
He's getting $2 million for his final year. And what I'm trying to say to you is that great job. Nobody's going to take that away from him. But NIL and this free transfer portal and all the things that the NCAA has let go, at least the NFL has a salary cap. There's no salary cap right now. So I don't know how anybody can project. But Bama's going to be there. Georgia's going to be there. Ohio State's going to be there. All the big boys are going to be there. But to try to give a time frame on when you win a national championship, I do think is throwing something.
I think it's going to be the same old, same old. It's going to be Clemson, Ohio State, to add on the names you said, LSU. I think they're all going to be there. Maybe Texas A&M makes a little jump, but as long as Jimbo Fisher's calling the plays, I'm not buying A&M just like I did last year. Let's roll through some of this stuff. PCB&G, the kids were great on the interviews. Love Campbell and Smith. Mason Smith was very good. Will Campbell was awesome. Last night, there wasn't a whole lot of media there last night. I'm one of the few that actually posted the videos, all of them, complete. It was me, Jacques, Tiger TV, and one other in LSU. And so when we rolled out and ended up with 7 interviews last night, I was unbelievable. It was awesome. And we usually get 4 players. we got 7. But when Will Campbell is the first guy up, and I went, wow. And like a true freshman, we're getting a true freshman. Well, not only does that show you, that shows me 2 things. One, how dominant Will Campbell has been so early on.
And he's going to start.
And he's a kid who's been doing interviews his whole high school career. And it also shows you, I believe, that Brian Kelly, along with the access that he's given us, crazy amounts of access, this is another instance of where, unlike previous coaches, he's not paranoid. You know, he's not worried about what these kids are doing. Besides, the other shoe's dropped. These kids can do interviews with anybody they want to now because of NIL.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then so we get him, and then I think we got we got a
Joe Fouché, Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors was next, and then Walker Howard comes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, it was awesome. And if you watch those interviews, or if you haven't seen them, you need to go watch them. But a lot of people are excited about Will Campbell. The views on that video, and we've got them linked on the front page of TigerBait. Or if you're watching our YouTube channel, it's on our YouTube channel, all of them in their entirety. But Will Campbell's some confident.
Well, Coach Kelly obviously was asked about Will Campbell, and one of the things is that he does not let a particular play bother him. If he gets beaten, gives up a sack, he forgets about it. This is a guy that is now growing. He told you he's up to 317.
I'm always the guy asking about weights
Yeah.
and fat percentage and
BMI and
so
all
yeah.
that.
So when he says
I gained
when he tells me in
17
3
pounds.
months I've gained 17 pounds, and that's why that nutrition center thing is so huge, because you can see it from a mile away. Walker Howard was that way in high school. All those guys like that. They're running and going. They got to go this one for this girlfriend. They got this guy's having something at his house. They don't eat. They don't stop and eat. With LSU, everything is contained in that building. You got a full cafeteria with every type of. I would love to see the budget on that facility.
But here's the other tidbit.
Because, by the way, when we're sitting out there in the parking lot waiting to go in, we're seeing athletes from every sport coming in and out of there. That's not just for football.
But the tidbit that you and I have been made aware of that you didn't mention is that guys are losing 13 pounds of fat and they're replacing it with 13 pounds of muscle. Now, look, Will Campbell, I don't know what his BMI is and his body fat percentage is, but he doesn't have any baby fat. He doesn't have any
Jaquel and Roy, you couldn't see it on the video, but I've been covering Jaqueline since he was a freshman or sophomore at U High. And he was never a bad weight carrying kid. He was always a kid that if he tucked his shirt in, you didn't see any love handles or, I mean, his waist, his legs were always so big. I always thought that his thighs were as big as his waist. And I'm looking at him and he looks different. So that's just in 3 or 4 months now under Flint. So what's it going to be like come August?
Yeah.
Guys, I think it's crazy. Let's roll through some of these. Esteban says, "Go Tigers! Glad to have you with us." Jeffrey Lewis, Daniel's got to start. We'll see what happens on Saturday. Blaine Smith, good evening. Give me some guys LSU is definitely having some serious talk with about transfers. I think. They got a plan. I don't know who the guys are. If you're talking about the remaining few spots for Kelly, I don't know who that's going to be.
Well, there's 2 left now that they brought in 7. Of course, he's the kid from Ohio State. Mike's been teasing it for about 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month. And he comes in here and another big corner, and LSU needed that. No disrespect to the backups out there this spring, but once Bernard Converse went down, they've had to rely on some smaller corners. And so now you got 3 guys that are in the 6'1", 200 range. Of course, Mackay, as we know from the Cajuns, 6'2", 215. And I think that certainly your guy that played with Trev Falk is going to come in, and he's a little feisty player. But most people feel like, Mike, tight end, and maybe another offensive lineman with those final 2 spots.
The Golden Boot Pod. Good evening, Mike and Buddy. I watched y'all's show Sunday night. I'm assuming that's Poe Bear. And there's 3 guys, and Ant, Ant on that show when he was talking recruiting and who he liked. I think he and I were almost identical on about 3 or 4 guys he was talking about. So that y'all got a good show. Guys, go check that out on YouTube. I enjoy watching a little bit of that.
And kudos to Pooh Bear. You know, he's been a big proponent of AYS as well as this show. And Pooh Bear, I'm excited for you. And look, man, Nurse Cart. I don't know if you know her.
I saw her earlier tonight on Blake's show for a little while.
Oh man, she is a big time LSU Tiger fan, and
she gets in the weeds. Like she's like,
oh look, it's unbelievable.
She's talking details and will tell you like a guy's going to tell you.
Yep. So congrats, guys.
Yeah. Dale Broussard, Marcus Dumerville hasn't progressed.
I would say, at first, if you remember, Mike, he was getting reps with the ones when Cam Wire was playing left tackle. And the rotation on the offensive line has changed appreciably ever since they decided to put Will Campbell at left tackle. Now, oh, by the way, and this is why you don't have a spring game. The guy running with the left tackles in the second unit right now is a walk-on, okay? And so Cam Wire can play left tackle. We know that. Miles Frazier, Tremont Charts, all those guys have played tackle before. But once they moved Campbell to left tackle, they brought Cam Wire at right tackle. So all of a sudden now Dumerville and Wire are fighting for the right tackle spot. They still are looking. We talked about it. Steen got all the things from Nick and ended up with Bama. They wanted him badly. But bottom line is that Marcus Dumerville, this is a big summer for him to get bigger and stronger. He's not 300 pounds, which is, you almost have to be 300 now to be a big, nasty guy. But those are the kind of guys, him, Cardell Thomas, Xavier Hill, Marlon Martinez, who's been hurt and will be in, Garrett Dellinger. There's a lot of guys that are going to either get passed up or make some progress this summer and going into the fall. I'm not that worried about the O-linemen. I think with Brad Davis having a second consecutive year, I think they're going to be a lot better. And the other big question, obviously, is who's going to be that quarterback, because you're going to have different playbook for Miles Brennan and Jayden Daniels. That's a given.
Golden Boot Pod, Samuel L. Jackson and Boosie in the stands in the PMAC. Pump that in my veins. Yeah. Carl Dunn Roadhouse is a TBS classic. Guys, do me a favor. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Those of you who hit the notification bell got hit 7 times last night as each one of those interviews got fully loaded and loaded and formatted, and it was ready to go. And so you want to get those throughout the spring. And also, too, I want to tell you, we're expanding TigerBait. We're planning to do additional shows throughout the fall. So if you're interested in being a sponsor and a part of our TigerBait shows here on YouTube and Facebook, shoot me an email, mike@tigerbait.com, and I'll be sure to tailor make something for you because we're wanting to start lining that up for football season.
Yeah, you mentioned Carl Dunn. Carl the Cat, once again, voted in as one of the top 50 high school officials in the Baton Rouge area, so kudos to Carl the Cat. Oh, by the way, I'll be off next Wednesday. Carl the Cat will be in this chair co-hosting with Mike next Wednesday.
Dwayne Coleman says if Jayden Daniels is named starter, LSU is screwed.
Well, how do you know? How does anybody know how any of these guys are going to come to the party and light it up or sink come early September? I don't think Joe Sloan knows. I don't think Mike Denbrock knows. I don't think Brian Kelly knows. But it's very hard to tell a fan base that salivates on every little tidbit of information that you have to take patience pills. You and I have a pretty...
here's the deal. May 1st is the deadline, and we talked about it on your show earlier today. I think we're going to be watching to see what Nussmeier does in the next coming weeks.
But look, Chessa even said that today. I had Chessa Boucher, of course, from VLA, and she was saying, well, Jayden Daniels hasn't really impressed us that much with the throwing. But once again...
I think of all the Florida quarterbacks, he's probably the least the throw, and no doubt.
And he just got here. My point is that this summer, you gotta text your buddies and say, hey, we throwing at 2 o'clock. Be there. You got to get in the weight room. You've got to definitely know every little inch of that playbook. And then once you start to get an idea who your best players are at quarterback, then you start to shape the game plan around those guys. But as I said, Miles Brennan is going to throw the deep ball and other things much more than Jayden Daniels.
I think they're all coming around on the offense. I think they're all about where they need to be at this stage. But then you get into, okay, when a play breaks down, who's likely to make a big play when a play breaks down? And who's most likely to make a poor decision when a play breaks down? And I think sometimes that's maybe where Nussmeier might get in a little trouble.
Well, look, Jayden Daniels has played in the Pac for 3 years. That is not even close to what he's going to see on the SEC level.
Right.
On the other hand, Miles Brennan has had a propensity to show that at times he can be a statue and not very escapable. And, let's be honest. You're going to have some run pass.
So if you put Jayden Daniels' legs on Miles Brennan, or if you put Miles Brennan's arm on Jayden Daniels, and then that's when everybody starts hypothesizing about, is there a 2-quarterback thing coming your way? And then, of course, nobody talks about Walker because it's just absolutely 100% assumed he's going to redshirt.
Well, but my point to the guy who made that comment, I just don't think it's fair for anybody. We can talk about history. History is the best way to predict the future. But this is, I think, going to be determined in the next 3 months. Look, what are you doing in May, June, and July? Because somebody's going to be ready to take over that starting spot. I don't know if it's Brennan. I don't know if it's Jayden Daniels. I don't know if Nussmeier's going to be here. Or we don't know if Walker Howard is going to be 202 pounds, fit as a fiddle and blowing everybody away. I mean, it's just uncharted territory. You're going to have to be patient right now.
Let's hear from our title sponsor, Mike Faraday and Alex Martinez over at Pride Roofing.
Hi, I'm Michael with Pride Roofing.
I'm Alex.
Were you affected by Hurricane Ida?
Insurance claim, no problem.
Are you concerned about the shortage of building materials?
We have what you need.
We're licensed residential and commercial contractors.
In Louisiana and Mississippi.
We install shingles, metal, and commercial roofing. From Baton Rouge to Slidell or Houma up to the North Shore.
We got you covered. Call Pride, 855-PRIDE-16.
Pride Roofing, the official roofer of TigerBait.com.
Big thanks to Mike and Alex for sponsoring us each and every week. Of course, the official roofing company of TigerBait.com. Give them a call, 855-PRIDE-16. There's nobody better. There's a lot of roofing company options out there, and we've got testimonials from everybody who's used them through TigerBait. And, of course, they're continuing to run that promo that you need to jump on whether it's your commercial or residential roof. If you're curious about what your situation is, how much it's going to cost you, are you due for a roof, are you already decided that you're going to make a decision, give them a call and ask for your free roof inspection. Tell them you heard about it on TigerBait.com, and they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait Premium for a year. And a lot of people have jumped on that, and it's incredible that they're continuing to run that promo. And anywhere in South Louisiana, commercial, residential, any type of roof, they've got you covered, and no builder grade materials. It's just all top notch. Everything that you get from Mike and Alex over at Pride Roofing.
Of course, our new acquisition, now we are much more involved with Crown Metals and that acquisition. It has really changed the game plan over at Pride Roofing. One of the things I like to stress, and we've sent people, you've sent a ton of people, they are expanding in Baton Rouge. We're not on every TV
Lafayette.
show.
They're getting big in Lafayette.
Getting big in Lafayette around the state, but they're good people. They take pride in the job that they do. And for those that have not, all we say is give them a chance. And, oh, by the way, they will sharpen the pencil. They'll make it a competitive deal. But I love the fact that we have the extra hour now because, look, PFM and other people that have used them, they couldn't believe it. They showed up 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. They're done by 4:35. Now, with this extra hour of sunlight, you're really getting to do more roofs.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mike tells me you got a typical home in Louisiana, say 2,500 square feet. if there's good weather,
6 hours.
oh yeah, they'll have that dumpster in your driveway. They'll have the old roof torn off and the new one on by dark.
Yeah, no doubt. So give them an opportunity. 275-2041 in Baton Rouge, 855-PRIDE-16, anywhere else in the Southeast.
Yep, Southern Mississippi as well. So big thanks to Mike and Alex. Let's scroll through a lot of these. Dale Broussard, Sage Ryan update. See him a little bit out there. I'm curious to see what we see on Saturday. He's got some competition there.
Yeah.
And it's like we talk about it each and every week. He had the injury bug. Maybe some people dinging him, saying he's a little undersized, doesn't have the length. Does he turn his hips the right way? But there's a debate to be had whether you talk about it defensively, what position to worry about more, corner or safety. I think they're moving guys around. I tend to think safety is going to come around a lot quicker. But, man, I like some of the new guys out there. So maybe it's just because there's the new faces, maybe there's a little bit more worry there than there needs to be.
Sage Ryan is another one of those guys we just mentioned. How bad does he want to play for LSU this year? We're going to see. He needs to get in the weight room and pick up 10 pounds right here and lift with you to get to 195 or 200. And there's a lot of competition. Brooks, Fouché, Major Burns hadn't even been around. Derek Davis Jr., Matthew Langlois. I mean, we go on and on and on. They've got more depth at safety. But Sage Ryan, right now, Derek Davis Jr., all of those guys, I think this is an important summer for him.
No doubt. Dillon, what's up, guys? Who's the last tackle to start as a freshman? Was it Whitworth? Was it Saron Black?
Lewis Williams is a guy that started. Charlie and I were in the press box.
What about Saron Black, the last one?
Saron Black and Lewis Williams, and there were a couple others, but I can't remember. You see, this
I think it was Saron
is
Black.
it the first game of his career at left tackle? We don't remember if that's exactly, but you can count them on one hand, the guys that have done it.
Yeah. Well, but it's also like we've been saying. When you see Will Campbell, there's no denying that he doesn't look like a true freshman. He's 317 pounds of just solid muscle. But there's a difference between a 17, 18-year-old and a 21, 22-year-old. But Brian Kelly didn't hesitate 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, when he said when we moved Will Campbell to left tackle, everything started to fall into place. So,
and you know what he's doing every week, folks? Every day? He's having to block Ali Gay and B.J. Ojolari and Savion Jones and all those studs. And trust me, iron sharpens iron.
Blaine Smith, what recruits are visiting this weekend? I'm still getting a bunch of names. I have an ongoing list on our Tiger Den premium message boards, as well as some notes that I'm adding it to the bottom of guys that I've reached out to that aren't coming, but saying why not, or where they're going. Tackett Curtis reached out to me earlier today. The linebacker from Manny says he might be or not sure yet. I don't know what to take of that. Maybe he's trying to line something up to get there. So that sounded like there might be something working there. But, obviously the two biggies are Dante Moore, the quarterback, high 4-star, maybe a 5-star on one of the networks.
From Detroit, Michigan.
Yep. And his good buddy Carnell Tate, the wide receiver from IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Those two are tight. And when those two scheduled their visits to LSU a week ago, I guess it was, I started getting calls from my media buddies that cover Notre Dame and Michigan and so forth, and it made them all nervous. And so...
And, Mike, this is the other thing we've been talking about. If you notice, folks, look, Brian Kelly and Polian and everybody, of course, Polian's a recruiting coordinator and has been the right-hand man in the transition, and Kelly and all of his staff that are going to recruit, they're going to give that incredible emphasis to the state. But you notice all the people around the country that are now coming in from the Midwest, from California, from different places, New Jersey.
Yeah, and so do you know what that is, buddy?
That's the coaches on that staff.
What has LSU's fans have been wringing their hands about for about 3 or 4 months? NIL, is LSU ready? They're going to be in the ball game. This can work the other way too.
Yeah.
So Dante Moore coming in. All right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's get some more questions in here.
By the way, as Mike's getting ready to throw some more at you, LSU baseball on Saturday. They play Missouri tomorrow night and Friday night. Saturday, the baseball game has been moved up 1 hour to a 12 o'clock start. LSU football, 1 o'clock. Both will be on the digital network.
Blake Ruffino chimes in, our buddy at RU Serious Sports. Shout out to Pride. They have completely been there for my family. Yes, they did. Blake was telling me about, in fact, we talked about it on last week's show about they worked with his mom, and of course, she was good to them in turn. She referred a bunch of her friends and neighbors to Pride. So all good. I like hearing those stories. Of course, they're not far from Blake and his family right there in Albany, Louisiana. And Tammy and Mike and Alex, they all say swing by and visit them right there on Florida Boulevard. Do they call it Florida Boulevard in Albany? I mean, I'm just calling it Florida Boulevard because I'm a Baton Rouge kid.
No, I think it's Florida Boulevard.
Okay, it's Florida, or is it? Yeah, or do they call it Florida Highway there?
No, I think it's Florida Boulevard.
All right, so it's Boulevard no matter what.
Well, before
even
long,
though it's not a divided highway.
Hey, before long, Blake Ruffino's going to have Blake Ruffino Boulevard.
All right, there you go. Florida Boulevard right there in Albany. You can't miss them, and they got Crown Metals right across the street that they just made a big acquisition for. So, big things in Albany, Louisiana. They ought to have the Albany Chamber of Commerce out there cutting ribbons. Let's see. Dwayne Coleman says Saran Black. I think it was Saran Black.
Yeah, I think so too. But, he was hurt a bunch. And as far as a guy in his first game ever starting at left tackle, I'm going to have to do the research.
Rashad says it was Sadiq Charles.
I
don't think.
No, Sadiq Charles redshirted, I think.
Yeah, and we're talking about left tackle too.
Yeah. He didn't play as a true freshman.
There's Nurse Court. She gives us a hey guys. She's in the house.
Oh man, I almost read something for Nurse Court last week on this show, but she is she knows her stuff, and she's got one hell of a sense of humor. So if you follow her, I know you're all up into what.
I know they call it. I know they call it Florida, Blake, but do they call it Boulevard? Is it Florida Boulevard or Highway at that point? Because it's not a boulevard in Albany. A boulevard has a divider in the middle.
Look, as long as you guys don't start.
Look, he calls Franklinton the North Shore.
Well, I was going to say, let's not go down that highway again.
Alan Mendez says Highway 190. Kenny Futch, our good buddy, says, good evening, Mike and Buddy. Gregory Price, Texas Tiger in the house, longtime TigerBait subscriber, premium subscriber, great part of our community. And go subscribe to TigerBait after the show's over. We like to have you. We got a lot of good content, a lot of free stuff, but a lot of premium stuff. And I'm on the board day and night. We're going to have loads for you Saturday in our coverage of the spring game and recruiting the recruits this weekend. Bart Smokey is Deli the next center. I believe it is Garrett going to be Garrett Dellinger. I asked his brother. His brother's not coming in this weekend for a visit, unofficial, but he was just here recently.
And his brother has been crystal ball to Michigan State. We're not so sure he's going to follow his brother over here. Look, we talked about it on numerous occasions. Garrett Dellinger, Marlon Martinez, and Emory Jones are three guys that you're not going to see Saturday that are going to be in the mix at center and the inside spots. Now, you've talked to Emory, and I'm a big believer in him. That's a 330-pound road grader, and I think if he can pick up the offense physically, he's going to be good enough. Now, is he going to have the maturity of Will Campbell? That's a lot to ask. Dellinger, as we know, and this is why I beat up Jake Peets last year, giving up 4 sacks, didn't give him any help with a tight end or a running back chipping, and that was ridiculous playing him outside, but he'll be inside. And Marlon Martinez, Brian Kelly said, he's been hurt. So, but Charles Turner has been the star at center. The question is, can he ward off those guys come fall?
And here's the deal with Cole, Garrett's brother. Is this a deal where he is a center? His brother Garrett's going to be moved to center or possibly being the guy, and he's like, you know,
don't want to compete with his brother.
Yeah, you don't want to compete with his brother because Cole can probably go in and start immediately at Michigan State.
Well, we'll see, but I do think the offensive line is going to be appreciably better this year. But
I thought that prediction of Cole to Michigan State looked like it was a little hurried to me.
Sure.
That one looked flaky. that's not a strong market as far as guys that cover recruiting. Here's one. James Phillips Mike, it doesn't seem Kelly's putting together enough emphasis on the recruiting of in-state players. All the talk seems to be about the out-of-state players. Yes and no. I tend to want to see what's going to happen now that the spring evaluation period. A lot of high school schools are starting spring practices next week, and the coaches will go out on the road and let's see what transpires then. I will say that there's maybe. I'm just going to make up a number. Let's say there's 6 guys. Let's say there's 6 guys that the previous staff offered that it doesn't look like LSU has mutual interest, the new staff at LSU, that they're not honoring either offers or I think maybe there's 1 or 2 that maybe I'd maybe disagree with, but for the most part, I agree with that those were offers that you shouldn't extend, that the new staff shouldn't have re-offered or said, yeah, your offer is good with us. But I do think there's going to be some more Louisiana players that either haven't gotten offered or maybe are going to get a lot more emphasis in the next 2 months between spring evaluation period and June camp and any other event that they have on campus. And don't forget, you're already having official visitors. LSU's already hosted some. So those are going to be coming in a little early too. But I think the state looks a little down this year.
That was what I was going to add. Look, you got everybody in the country wanting him to compete right out of the gate.
Yeah, because here's the thing on this. You and I talked about this the other night. The reason why I think the state's down, I can make an argument that Derek Williams is the number 1 player in the state. I can make an argument that Trey Holly's the number 1 player. Shelton Sampson. I don't think it's Arch Manning.
No.
I'll put a Holstein ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I can see where people would argue on that. That's okay. Then you got Ricky Collins in there. You got Curly Reed at Lake Charles. You got Jay Nosberry. You know, and there's others. But where's the lineman? You got Tyree Adams. He's going to Ole Miss this weekend. He's not going to LSU. Got Hurd up at Neville. You know, you got to get one or both of those. You got to get both of them, in my mind. But let's see when Tyree comes back from St. Aug. I hope to see him in the next couple of weeks, personally.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I'm going to ask if I get the microphone from Cobble tomorrow when we have our Thursday wrap-up before the spring game. I'm going to ask Coach Kelly about what it's been like recruiting at LSU and in the SEC. Everybody knows when you finish up in December and invariably in February, 5 of the top 10 classes are going to be SEC schools. And LSU's had their moments and been up there and 1, 2, 3, 7, whatever. But at this point, when you're rebuilding, as we saw with the transfer portal, let me tell you how important they relish in-state. Look at all the in-state guys they got in the transfer portal. Brooks, Mackay, Joe Fouché, all of that. So they understand the importance of recruiting Louisiana.
Yeah, and so,
but they're also here to win football games and rebuild. And right now, you got to get the best players, regardless of it.
Yeah, and then look at the positions. Like
you got to fill needs.
Look where there's some missing pieces.
You got to
fill
those needs.
Where are the defensive linemen? Okay, I mean, usually if there's a crackerjack defensive lineman, we've been talking about him for a year and a half by now. 2 years. Who's the next? Anthony Freak Johnson or Jaquelin Roy or Jacobian Guillory. Where's that next guy?
Well, I like to say Chad Lavallee and Glenn Dorsey and others.
And Mason Smith,
Yeah. But my point is this, Mike.
Quincy was kind of a late guy because he had played basketball.
But my point is this. They understand the importance of Louisiana. You saw it in the transfer portal, bringing a lot of these guys back to LSU who were not offered the first time. But if you don't have a strong class, you've got to go fill needs, and Jamar Cain is going to recruit defensive line throughout this country. Now, if you got a great one in Louisiana, he's going to be all over him. But I think LSU fans need to worry about getting football players and not worried about how many percentage are going to be Louisiana. Trust me when I tell you, they understand the importance. And you don't have to remind Brian Kelly that Alabama came in here and took 3 wide receivers and a tight end boom, like that. So they're well aware of all of that and the job they have to do recruiting.
Yeah, I just they're going to have the athletes there. I think it's going to be imperative that they do a very good job of getting a lot of the guys that maybe they're debating. You know, you get in a recruiting room and you might have half the staff that really likes a kid, another half doesn't, or they're unsure. That's why they really need to do a good job of working their tail off to get as many Louisiana kids that there's debates about on campus, and hopefully a lot of them on the same day where you can have them side by side, 7-on-7, the stuff that they do to really get to work with them. And then I think you're going to see a lot more Louisiana athletes get some offers here in the next couple of months.
And look, we didn't mention Tackett Curtis. You talked about him earlier. LSU previous staff fumbled that one badly. So there's some kids that they're going to get in on that they weren't on.
But he's also a throwback kid. Does he fit this current defense?
Yeah.
You know, he's an old school, linebacker. Wears the neck roll and everything.
Yeah. Well, you ought to go to Clemson if that's the case.
And here's the other thing. And I'm not getting after Tackett, but, man, go to camp. People want to see you at camp. Don't just say this is my film and accept it or not.
Well, this is the other.
That's where coaches say, man, he don't want to come to camp and go against the best of the best. It kind of raises some doubts. And that was a big red flag for me with Hootie Jones, and he ended up being a poo-poo.
A Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Big bust.
So, but I'm not saying that's going to happen with Tackett, but, let's go to camp.
But, Mike, do you think people realize this man was named the head football coach and basically started on December 1? You had an early signing period 2 weeks later. You had a February signing period. And that's the other question I want to ask him about recruiting. What did you guys learn the first go-around? And specifically about NIL, the mistakes you made there, and you don't want to duplicate those. But, a lot of people, and Blake got on this thing, a lot of people said, oh, he don't work that hard on recruiting. He's lazy. He wants to play golf. He wants to do this. The guy hasn't had a chance to
I have
come
seen
up for air.
I have seen none of that. And have you seen anything that makes you think that he's not there to do everything?
And it all falls into place, the method to the madness. So I do think recruiting as well as the evolution of the quarterback for 2022, you're going to have to just sit tight and don't let Nurse Court be calling you in some pain pills to relax you. Whatever you need, just relax. It's going to happen, like Aaron Rodgers says. RELAX, relax.
Kenny Haynes, Tiger Shark. Mike, if Thompson and Doty don't get it together, they need their NIL revoked. Man, he's stopping payment on checks.
Oh, man. We talked about that with Chess a little bit, and I think it's all between the ears. Those guys didn't have those errors last year. Those guys, and Mike, here's the thing. Thank goodness that Trey Morgan has the flexibility to stretch his body on some of these shows, but for the life of me, I think it is pressure. I mentioned this, and people get mad because they still have the jilted lover syndrome about Saban. I think Jay Johnson needs to tell Scott Woodward, you know what? We need a frickin' shrink. I need to send Jordan Thompson in there. I need to send Cade Doty in there. I need to send Dillon Cruz, who's looking at way too many fastballs and striking out way too much, because these guys, it's between their ears. It's not physical. This is mental right now.
Gerard Bryant, hey, Mike, do you think Coach Brian Kelly will have less decommits than the former head coaches? I don't know if that's the case. Did Orgeron have less than Miles? And, I mean, heck, I remember. Who was the linebacker that left Saban at the altar from the Houston area?
Look.
And he went furious. Remember that?
Yeah.
He went to A&M last minute, and he didn't have a linebacker on signing day that he wanted.
Well, here's the other thing, too.
With the NIL deal now,
I was going to say.
Anything goes.
Exactly.
Is it a matter of you lost somebody because you didn't recruit them well enough or someone did a better job than you? I tend to think if someone's going to decommit, it's because an NIL deal came in and sunk your battleship.
Hey, by the way, ask Tiger Shark if he thinks that LSU is going to flip the switch. we can kick Paul Maneri around about a lot of things, no left-handed pitchers and some other things, but he did get that team to peak at the right time, and they went out west and won a regional and gave Tennessee some fits in the super regional. So we'll see if Jay Johnson can get them playing on a higher level here the next 5 SEC weekends.
Yeah. They need a sweep in here, don't they?
Yeah, they can't afford to be tinkling games away with bad defense anymore.
Want to talk about our dear friend of TigerBait.com, Tony Freeman with Assurance Financial. Right now, with the rates going up, what did I see? The mortgage rates have gone up 2 points in a month. So if you're thinking of buying a new home, refinancing your current mortgage, but haven't found a lender you can trust, let me tell you about Tony Freeman with Assurance Financial right here in Baton Rouge. Dear friend of mine, someone many of my friends have used for their mortgage needs over and over. Her knowledge and over 25 years of experience in the mortgage industry is unsurpassed. She offers a wide range of knowledge of home loan products, whether you're a first-time home buyer, ready to buy a new home, or you just want to explore your refinance options. Tony can guide you through your next mortgage experience. You can feel confident you're making the best financial decision with Tony as your guide. Not only is Tony a huge LSU fan, but Assurance Financial is a proud partner of LSU Athletics. Call Tony today at 225-239-7150. Again, that's 225-239-7150. And tell you heard about it right here on TigerBait.com. NMLS number 104765, Equal Housing Opportunity 70876. And she is absolutely the best there is. And so give Tony a call. And like I said, the rates right now, they're going up. And unfortunately, some people get caught in a market where they have no choice to move, whether relocated for job, school, whatever it might be. And so you make the money on your current house, but you're gonna want the best deal you can get, and she's the one that you want to talk to.
Super classy, makes everybody feel very comfortable, dots the I's, crosses the T's, and you just feel a comfort when you're with Tony. The $1 million smile, but takes care of her business. Of course, I hear the spots on the radio always for our assurance. So go by and see Tony. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
ML Chambers says, do you think we will get something other than vanilla on Saturday?
Is that Frenchie trying to disguise Mark Chambers? ML Chambers. Come on, Frenchie. You in the witness protection program? No.
No, he's got his photo on the screen.
Yeah.
He's not hiding.
Yeah, he's probably shooting an arrow in that photo. Look, you're going to get served vanilla whether you like it or not. Because when you have a spring game, you don't know who's in the stadium. And you talked about paranoid football coaches. They're not going to show a whole lot. But you will get to see the skill sets. Oh, by the way, I got to get this off my chest about John Emery. John Emery was in a boot, and they released it. Well, he's out of the boot this week, and he wants to play in the spring game. Let me tell you what. I may not be here next Wednesday, but you're going to hear me blowing a freaking gasket if John Emery plays in the spring game. Do I need to remind people about Leonard Fournette? We're going to the greatest trip ever, the bucket list trip to Lambeau. And Les scrimmages Leonard Fournette 3 weeks before the opener. And Donnie Alexander, a good kid, puts a helmet on Fournette. And you know what? The kid had a busted bum ankle the whole year. And you knew what Leonard Fournette can do. John Emery, you better not be on the sidelines trying to get to play, because, brother, you need to win and make hay come this summer and going into fall. This is irrelevant what happens on Saturday. So I hope.
I think I heard Les Miles would argue with medical staff. He had his own ideas on how to fix guys, and
but that was stupid.
some of the stuff that he did was asinine.
Yeah, I know that, but he made a lot of money. Let me tell you what, everybody calls Les Miles stupid except on Friday when he was depositing those checks.
Nurse Court, I would like a Georgia guy. They know how to raise a football player like Louisiana. They sure do. There's certain states where, because of the quality of the football, you're getting good football players. And Georgia is absolutely similar to Louisiana in that regard. There's so many good football players. in the state of Georgia. What was it? Perry Riley and Kelvin Shepard. Neither one of them got Georgia offers. Riley got one at the end, and it was too late. And two very good football players. Their 15 through 25 players are as good as their 5 through 10. I mean, that state's absolutely loaded, and that's why everybody goes there.
Eric Gilbert is back with the Georgia Bulldogs. Of course, he's had a lot of problems off the field. We know he's a very physically talented tight end, but he was a mess over here and really a cancer in the locker room. But we'll see if he can get back to doing the kind of things. I think, Mike, I think the latest I heard, he was up 290, 300 pounds. So he's put on some weight. But as we know, Georgia does a great job. And I'm glad we got into this segment. I don't know if you noticed it on Saturday, but we finally saw, and Mike Denbrock and Brian Kelly are going to want to use 3 tight ends. Now, we don't talk much about Nick Starrs, but he's come in. Of course, Mason Taylor's coming in. You think they grab another tight end with that one of those 2 final spots?
I think it has to be.
I think it has to be too, but you're going to see some 3 tight ends.
But then you get in a debate, what would the other spot be for?
Well, we're hearing maybe an offensive line. They still want to have some more offensive tackles. So we'll see.
And if it's not an offensive tackle, where would you use it?
I mean, there's
another DB.
You could certainly, because look, all 3 of the corners you have, including the kid from Ohio State coming over here, they could all be gone. Mekhi Garner could go after this year. He's that good. This is last year for 24. So you definitely need more corners.
And how much is it if you, let's say you only get one or you can have that debate, all right? Tight end's definite, okay? Would he maybe hold back that one spot because you don't know who's going to do something crazy before May 1st?
I think Kelly answered it. I think they've got 2 guys that they've already identified. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get caught with their hand down.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me scroll down. One second. Nurse Court's dominating the whole chat.
I didn't know she was dominatrix. Okay, cool.
She says, ask Buddy, I was talking about the Georgia tight end, Jack Nickel, heard any news if we had offered him. I have not heard anything on that. I know that was a name that popped up a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, look, they got to bring in a guy here, Mike. Let's be honest. And we love Monster Mash, and the guy has gotten every ounce of talent. But Cole Taylor has been slow to develop.
Don't just take a tight end because he's a tight end.
But you got to get a receiving tight end.
Don't take tight ends that didn't do anything at their previous location.
But I'm just saying, you got enough of the blocking tight ends. You need somebody that can stretch the field. And, of course, as we know, Max's brother went over to A&M with him. So we'll see which way they go. But, Nurse, you know a good tight end when you see one, baby.
Yep. Okay, let's see.
She got that joke. Mike didn't.
Yeah. I'm scrolling up here. All right, guys. I think we got just about everybody done away with tonight. So go to TigerBait, subscribe. We're going to be back here on Saturday. Loads of coverage. Our list of recruits visiting this weekend is going to continue to expand, and I'm adding more notes there tomorrow and Friday. We'll have full coverage of recruits. So like, subscribe, share. Please share the show. And once the show's over with, please go to TigerBait and subscribe. You can get on the site, try us out for $1. And or if you've already been a subscriber before, come back. We want to have you choose the annual package versus the monthly. You basically get 3 months free when you do that. And we'll see you guys on the other side. We will have a Smoky Investment Team post-spring report, and we're doing one tomorrow night.
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah, Buddy and I is doing one tomorrow night. So we got a couple more Smoky Investment Team YouTube reports. So we'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks for everybody who participated tonight. Good night.